Hi, and welcome to Community Hotline at Home. I'm your host, Monica Weitzel. Today, we'll be talking with Geek, one of our nonprofit partners committed to digital access and equity. In today's media landscape, as we rely on online technology for our work, play, and human connections, digital equity is more important than ever. Geek works to sustainably reuse technology, enable digital access, and provide media education to those who need it. With us today is Adele Pomeroy, the Digital Equity Manager for Geek. Welcome, Adele. It's good to have you here.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Great. You know, despite Geek's kind of funny name and an almost down-home family type vibe among its staff and volunteers, it's really an organization that's doing very important work in the community. The two areas that bubble to the top when I think about Geek are sustainability and digital equity. So let's focus on the subject that you know best, which is digital equity. Can you tell me what you're doing in that area now and how it's been affected by COVID-19?
Definitely. I would love to. COVID-19 has had a massive effect on our digital equity programs. A lot of our digital inclusion focuses have been really getting people to a place where they're comfortable using computers and devices. And so often we would reach out to folks that have never used a device or a computer before. And we would start with classes that really lay the foundations of using a device. So using a keyboard, using a mouse, how to navigate a browser, some safety practices online, and more simple and foundational things like using an email for the first time, stuff that is frankly very hard to teach when you're not in person. And so when you're trying to teach someone about a keyboard or about a mouse, for example, if you're not there with them, showing them, or sitting right next to them so you can demonstrate and then have somebody sort of repeat what you're doing, I think that's one of our largest struggles right now, is trying to brainstorm new and different ways that we're able to continue working with our community partners and still serve the most vulnerable communities in Portland.
So I'm imagining that you, like many of the organizations out there, probably don't have a full staff either. Is that true? Is that an issue with
yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. With COVID-19 also, we've had to actually furlough about half of our staff. And so part of that is because we want to make sure that our staff safety is our number one priority right now. Our mission is really important and we are working towards it, although I will say rather slowly currently because of the pandemic, but really making sure that our staff are safe and comfortable on site and feel safe when they're engaging with the public. Sure. And so we have continued to be open throughout this period, though less available to the public. And so we don't have public available to be able to come into the building, and we don't have volunteers on site, but we are still providing internships remotely to folks in the community who really need digital or remote and virtual skills. So our tech support program especially, I think, has kept on around 6 or 7 interns. So those folks are still learning different ways to engage with ticketing systems and different ways to provide service to community members by phone and email. And I will say that the phone and email support requests are through the roof. And so it has been so wonderful that we've had our tech support interns still on with us, because there are so many people now that are working remotely or who are trying to, use devices remotely in general, let alone for work. It's, you're buying groceries, you're setting up appointments to see your doctor online. Everything you can think of these days is online, especially because of COVID-19. Right. And so we have tons of folks that are calling in and requesting assistance. And it's been really wonderful because we can provide sort of workforce development on the one hand, to our interns to be able to put that on their resumes. But then we also are able to provide, with their assistance, a lot of support that our community members really need right now.
And that's huge. I mean, even just families wanting to stay connected because they can't see each other because of the pandemic. I mean, that's a really big deal. Are you able to help out the schools, and what do you do in that area?
We've had a lot of really good conversations with a few of the school districts in our area. We've also had a couple of conversations with the Oregon Department of Education. And so we know that there are about 75,000 students without devices right now or without service. Internet service. And so that is a huge barrier that we're actively working with a couple of different agencies and organizations to be able to help problem solve that. But with schooling and education not being in person in the foreseeable future in a safe way, we definitely have that as our focus. We traditionally had a program called Plug into Portland where students would be able to volunteer in their community for 24 hours and receive a free computer from Free Geek. Right. However, because volunteering is really unsafe right now, or leaving, we're sheltering in place, we're wearing masks whenever we're outside in public areas where you can't keep the social distance. And so we decided that the volunteering was a huge barrier. And so for any student that needs a computer, the volunteering requirement has been waived. And so any student that emails us at plugin@freegeek.org can request a free computer from us right now.
Wow. That's a great deal. That's a great deal. Yeah. They have to have it. How do you even keep up with all the changes in technology and still be able to help the number of incoming requests that you're getting during this time? I don't know how you could do that.
Well, we can't.
Okay.
In short and sweet, we really won't be able to for that much longer is sort of where we're at. We do and have had immense support from foundations and from granting organizations and even from local Oregon businesses. But we do rely heavily on donations from just your average community member giving us their old technology. But we also really rely on Oregon businesses and medium-sized to large-sized businesses that need to refresh their technology or are getting rid of a lot of technology. We are a e-cycler. You mentioned at the beginning of our conversation that we do sort of equity and digital inclusion work, and we also do sustainability work. And so we take all of that old technology from these companies, and really a lot of it has like 5 or 8 years more life in it, and it's really a good computer to use. And so we refurbish a lot of technology, taking the best pieces of all the computers that we get donated in and putting them back into solid, sturdy computers that will definitely keep going for years to come. But frankly, in just the first 3 months of the pandemic, we had over 230 requests from individuals, and over 45 organizations reached out. And these are nonprofit organizations that are really doing mostly, I would say, predominantly social services work and health-related work. And so clinicians and folks that are social workers reaching out on behalf of their clients who they're trying to connect with and really are unable to connect with their clients for mental health services, for clinical services, for all types of different social services, which is really upsetting because I would say the request from organizations has reached over 3,000 devices at this point. And so those are the ones that we're really struggling to fulfill while we can still keep working with individuals and making sure they're getting what they need. It's harder to make sure that organizations who traditionally were able to rely on sort of our stopgap measures of having, public libraries open with accessible devices and internet, those really just it's not possible to use those anymore or to rely on those for community members. So COVID-19 has really shone a bright light on the digital divide that already existed in our community, right. But that we were sort of treating as sort of a trickle is now a full-fledged flood.
It is a full-fledged flood. That's a really good analogy because it's really highlighted the fact that digital equity is very, very important. People can't get left behind. So the work you're doing is wonderful. You mentioned something about the nonprofits you work with too. So you do a lot of partnerships with other organizations to get your work done.
Yeah, definitely. We're really excited by even hearing the nonprofits that we work with. Mostly we try to stay sort of mission aligned with bridging the digital divide, with education, with equity driven organizations. And a lot of the folks that we work with, like Metro East, also have connections with other organizations like Immigrant and Refugee Community Organization, or IRCO, and the Rosewood Initiative, and Central City Concern is another one that we work with. But we definitely have developed many more nonprofit partnerships recently in all of these, even in low-income housing, working with resident coordinators who are like, okay, let's get creative. We have Wi-Fi in our building, but we don't have devices. We have a large lobby area, and maybe if Free Geek can share sort of our sanitization protocols for the computers and the devices, we can help set up computer labs in the bottom of all of these low-income housing complexes, so that folks at least would have some access, even if they do need to sanitize the machines before they use them. Make sure they're at least 6 feet apart from each other. There would be some access in the building, and they wouldn't have to rely on, waiting for a public library to open up again. Or in the case of some of our recipients of computers, we hear from students who are like, hey, I was working towards my GED and now I'm doing it on my phone and it's incredibly difficult. And so in the case of that, I think was a woman named Katrina, who now was able to complete her GED because we were able to donate her a device, which was really exciting. And we still definitely are responding to any requests that come through plugin at freegeek.org. Folks can just describe their situation and we work with them. So if they do have, a stable place of residence where they can live, and they have a connection to an Ethernet cord, we might suggest something like, hey, we have a ton of desktop computers, and we're trying to prioritize our laptop computers for folks experiencing houselessness, or for folks who have accessibility needs where a desktop computer just won't work for them. Would you be willing to use a desktop computer for a while? And then maybe in a year, or when we get more computers in from donations, we can talk about trading it out.
Right. Well, you're doing amazing work, and it's obviously very, very necessary in the community. And we at Metro East love partnering with Free Geek because you're great partners. So I appreciate your time, Adele, and for all the work that you're doing. And I hope that everybody comes safely through this crisis and that we can all get back to normal, whatever that will be. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. I don't think normal will look the same as it did before, but I definitely agree that I'm excited for us all to feel safer in our environment. And I know that while we did leave some space for the social justice movement right now that we're all participating in, we will be resuming our technology drives soon, and those are actually contactless drive-through technology collection sites. And so businesses who want to participate in those can contact us to be a part of that sort of contactless drive-through technology donation. And then anyone who wants to donate at Free Geek is still welcome to, Wednesday through Saturday. We've got some times on our website. So there's drive-through contactless donation at our location right now.
We can still keep involved.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Thanks, Monica.
You bet. And from all of us here at Metro East to all of you out there, please stay safe and stay healthy.